This is just setting up this whole thing. So once you're done setting up this, every other thing is fine. And also another thing I did is, if you notice the animation here, the glass is kind of thick. See that? See the thickness here. So, but in this case, this is thin. So what I'll do is select this, hold down Alt, go and add cloth surface objects. For the cloth, get rid of the subdivision. But for the thickness, we bring this down. So you see the thickness we have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this a little bit up. I think this should do. So let's try -5. I think that's fine. Then I'll hit C on this. So we are here. But you notice this is still applicable to this back. So what I'll do is I'll select this, change this to front, only front. So we don't have that. So if I create another object and make this strictly glass, and then that should be pasted to the back. So we do this, change this and glass, and bring this over to this and make it back. So we have that. So the back doesn't really have anything. Or what we could do is just select this and apply to this also. So we have that. Well, in this case, we need to turn everything to. So if I double click here, I need to make sure this also are applied. Okay, so for this, we don't want this to be front. We want it to be both. So you can also have it there. So this is just the only thing I'm going to make front. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. While this is going to be back. So for the back, we just have glass. And for this front, we just have this. Okay, so we have that. We'll make this. I think we should just make this both. I think we should make this both. And that means we don't need this glass. So what we'll do is come over to this and make sure this. Let me see how I can mix this with glass right here. Okay, I think I will just work without transparency here. So I have this. I will change this back to front, and if it doesn't really look nice, we'll go back. So this is going to be back. So I have that. Okay, so that's this part is done. Just setting of this scene. So the next thing is the animation, which is what I'm sure you guys are here. So for the animation, I'm going to make use of bend deformer. That's just what I did. So for the bend deformer, bring in the bend deformer. And very important also, for the screen, I'm going to make these two buttons children of the screen. And the reason why I'm doing this is by the time I'm doing the animation, it also affects this, and they will now have their own separate animation to them. So once you're done with that, bring this and rotate this until you are sure. So this should be 45. And then make this 90. And move this somewhere here. So if I bring this over here, you notice what I have. So this is what I have. So if I bring this up, but by default it's stretching this geometry, and I don't want to stretch, so I want to keep the length. So I'm just going to keep length, and that's just pretty much it. So the next thing is to start scaling this appropriately. So we have this scaled up and this scaled this one scaled down. Yeah. Scaled up and scaled up. I think this is fine for this and this one. So we have that. This is what we're going to use to animate. So if we bring this, we have that. So that's what I did for that. Notice as I move this, you see that this also follows it. The buttons follow it. So that's very important to do. So we bring this over here. So once we are done with that, the next thing is to create a separate and just copy this and put them as children of this. So this, create a copy of this and bring this close to this. So this has its own separate animation here. So we could just bring this down. Okay, so this also will have its own animation, which is this, and bring this over to this place and reduce also. So we have this. All right, so we're fine. Okay, so another thing you notice is for this, you see the same login at the back. So it's just the same process. You want to change this, you could just create a copy of, create a texture and just make that back. So that's just pretty much what you need for that. Nothing special. So if I bring this over to this, I'll make this go to the back so that when I do this, okay, so we have that, and this will go to the front. So we still are not seeing this, and the reason why we're not seeing this is because if I hide this for a moment and bring this up, the same thing here. If I select this and go to polygon mode, Control A, you notice everything is white. So that means everything here is front. So I need to change this to back. So what I'll do is do a UL, select this, and UF, select this, shift and add that to the selection. So just this, I want to change this to change this normal. So that's what I'll do. I'll right click and reverse normal. The shortcut is UR. Just want to show you. So once you have that normal reversed, that will change to the white, and this changes to the front. So if we come to this and try to increase this position, do similar here. I might need to increase this a little bit. So just setting up this. Okay, so that's fine. Do the same thing here. All right, so that's fine. So the same thing you just do for this guy. So you select this, Control A. So you know that what you need to do for this is UL for loop selection for this, and UF for field selection. Hold down Shift and select that. Then UR to reverse the selection. So now what we'll do is just drag this here. That fills that. So that solves that part. So we can bring this back. Okay, so that's just a way of solving that issue. So let's quickly start the animation. So for this, I'm going to start somewhere here. So we'll come here, create. So we don't want this to, we want it to be from somewhere here. So let's just say at this point here, 50, we're going to keyframe this here, but at this position, we're going to bring this out, keyframe, such that it comes in, and I want it to stay a little bit, then bring this back, hold down Control and drag this over here. So if you play through, this is what you get to have. Okay. All right. So here, maybe we want this to still move further. And also move this further. Keyframe. So we have that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for this. So as this guy moves in, as it moves in a little bit here, we want this to start coming up, these two buttons. So at this point, let's start with the login. So at this point here, we want this bend to be there. And as it's going, we want the bend to also so somewhere here, different. So maybe for the bend, we're going to reduce this here a little bit, so it doesn't bend on itself too much, just somewhere here. So if we check this through, this is what we get to have. You see that? Then we do similar thing for this other one. So for this one, we even want this to stay a little bit before coming in. So for this button here, we want this to, want to keyframe this here. And at this point, we want this to move out here. So if you play through, this is what you have. All right, so that's the basic animation here. But then this looks so dry. There is no interest to this. So how can we add some interesting feel to that? So let's look at this guy. If you notice the animation here, as this comes in, let's work with the screen first. You notice the top bounces a little bit here. Can you see that? So for us to do that effect, we're going to use the jiggle deformer. Make it a child of this. So we'll hold down Shift and add a jiggle deformer. Now this jiggle deformer will be added just after the bend because we want the effect to come after the bend. Then that's the first thing. The second thing is that we don't want the jiggle deformer to affect everything. Can you see? We don't want to affect everything. By default, it's going to affect everything. But I just want it to affect this tip here. So for me to do that, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to stop this for a moment. So I'm going to go to the jiggle deformer, change this to fall off, and bring spherical fall off. So for this spherical fall off, I'm going to turn this up a little bit and increase this. Then bring the spherical fall off somewhere here where I want it to affect, just somewhere here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the effect is too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the effect, go to the object and add more stiffness to this. So the stiffness I'm going to add is going to be somewhat 92. So it seems too stiff, but believe me, you're going to have the animation. The animation is going to play just fine. So if you play through, this is what you're going to have. So you see that? See that? So that's how I did that. So the other thing is to add some animation to this. You could also add jiggle deformer to this, but I just quickly want to show you another way of adding this um, animation, a secondary animation that you have control over. All right, so and that is by making use of effector. So I can also add effector and turn the effector to a deformer. So if I go to MoGraph and come here, change this. So if I bring a delay effector, for instance, I can make this delay effector act as a deformer. So let's start with the login. So bring this just under the blend. So for the delay effector, if I play, you don't see any effect on this object until you go and change this parameter, the deformer. Go to the deformer tab and change it from off to point. So you start seeing the effect. So if I go to the effect and I change this to spring, it gives me more like a jiggle deformer. So if I increase this, notice what we have. See that bounce. But for this blend and this login, I don't want to have that bounce. Instead, what I want is even. So I'll go to even, sorry, blend rather. So I just want it to blend in a little bit. Notice the way it blends in. So that is what I want for that. But for the app, I'm going to add a spring effect to that. So if I go to spring, so you see what that gives me. But this effect is too much. So what we'll do is bring this to, let's see. So maybe we'll try 45 and let's see what happens. All right, so I have that. So you can see that. So if I hide all these icons so that I clean my scene a little bit. So this is what you get to have. See that? So that's how I did that, but that's not enough. You notice before that comes, I don't want to have this. I just want it to appear. Because if you look at this object here, it just appears into it. See, it just appears into that. So how to do that? Very simple. So we'll do that for the app. So if you come to this app and just look at where you want this to start coming up. So this is where I want it to start appearing. This point here. All right. So I will come back a little bit. So here I'm going to select this, go to the coordinates and change this to 000, keyframe that. And as I move forward a little bit, I'm going to make this 111, keyframe that. So if we look through, this is what we're going to have. Yes, you can see what we have. So depending on how fast or slow you want the revealing to be, you could just scrub this, space them. So if you space them, you notice you have a different effect. Okay, so if I bring this here and maybe somewhere here, see that? So just depending on whatever effect you want, and that is what you're gonna get. So for this case, I didn't do anything for the login because I like the way it comes in. So you could just also use the same idea for that. So this is pretty much how I did that. So you can already see. So you could use this for a lot of things. You could use it for your own effects, UI, 3D, UI design, app designs, and all that. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a like and a thumbs up. And also, if you are new to my channel, I do tutorials like this every time. So do subscribe so that you get notification anytime I drop any tutorial. So do have a wonderful day and God bless you. Bye.